So Ceili, a noun, one who shows great courage. That is how Merriam-Webster defines Ceili, or hero, as it is seen in the book itself. But to me, those two things are synonymous. To many of us, Ceili was simply a student who illuminated the hallways of Fredericksburg Public Schools by giving every ounce of herself to help the others in her community. But what Ceili understood that many fail to see is that the earth itself is our full community. A community is a group of people with a common characteristic. The most common and most important characteristic is that we are all human. And that means we all deserve to live happily, safely, and love our lives as greatly as we can. These sound like simple things to us that we might take for granted, but for many they are merely imaginary. For Ceili, the concept of accepting someone and wanting to help them just for being human was as simple as breathing. You see someone who needs a hand, if you have one, you give it to them. You see someone who needs a hand, if you don't have one, you give it to them anyways, because that is what service is. Seeing a need and maybe not always having what it takes, but finding the way to get it. Ceili and I always talked about how there are moments where we all want to give, yet we feel like we have nothing left. But how in those moments, we find our strength and our value and true happiness if we give anyways. To be kind-hearted and sympathetic to many is seen as a burden, but it is the most noble burden a person could have. Ceili knew that there are many ways and levels to helping and saving a person. It could be cutting someone's grass, giving them a home-cooked meal, or just giving them an ear and a shoulder and being their friend. That's what I learned from Ceili, and that's simply how she saved me. Because while many of you simply saw us as the two goofy best friends who laughed up and down the halls of JM, danced terribly at prom, and sometimes in Target, or who made the ugliest cupcakes the world has ever seen, we saw ourselves as the best friends that most people wait their entire lives for. The friends who would come to your house at 10 a.m. and convince you to tell your mom that you want to live in New York City, or who sit with you in the hospital to make you laugh, or just to take the perfect selfie, or who discuss for hours how there are so many people in the world that need and deserve the power of the love and kindness we found together, and how we can help them find it. One of the greatest services we as human beings can provide is simply the love of a friend. Ceili and I realize that life is not always easy, but it is a privilege and a duty as friends and community members of this earth to do our best to make life a little bit easier for somebody else. Every day I strive to be a fraction of the kindness, the selflessness, the serving person that Ceili was. Just a giving friend is all you can be. You never know. To someone else you might be a hero.